Thursday the 13th of December. We're going to go over what needs to be done with the Tracer Summit system to change set points, respond to work orders. First thing we're going to do is log on. You probably can't see it up here on the screen, but there's a, let me move it real quick. That icon right there at the very top left corner. I'm going to double click that. The logon, Jose's got his own logon, I have my own logon. Whoever's watching this video, your logon is Tracer Summit. Just like it's in that dialog box that's open right now. Username is Tracer, Tracer. I hit the tab button to get down. SUMMIT is your password. There you go, click OK. See if we might want to adjust our screen here a little bit. Can you go up with the monitor? Or is that good? I don't need you to hold it now. Just take the monitor up, Jose.
Guess down a little bit.
Okay, yeah, that works. Perfect for now. So let's say we have VAV TU7-11, address 94. What you'll have to do is we just happen to know that's the second floor east. Second floor east, you'll have the floor plan, and you'll have to figure out what area that they're talking about that they have problems with. We happen to know which VAV it is. Jose's going to work on getting all the sensors labeled, which will make everything a lot easier. So we're going to go to TU7-11. So second floor east, you got two rooftop units, so it's on one of them. 7-11, right here is 7-11. So we're going to double click that. We look at this. The space is at 72 degrees. The active set point is 75 degrees. Our heating set point is not used. I'll tell you what that means in a minute here. So our cooling set point is 75. If you look over here to the right, active cooling set point is 75. Active heating set point is 72. The heat is off. Discharge air temp is 73 degrees. And thumb wheel set point, the local set point, is at 63.6. So looking at that, and we have airflow. We have 117 CFM. And what we can discern from this is whether or not everything's working as it should be. In this case, everything is working as it should be. We are 72.7 degrees in the space, which is above the heating set point, which is below the cooling set point. This 120 CFM, I'm going to go to the more details. If we look at our minimum cooling flow set point is 120 CFM. That's just an effort to get fresh air into the area for the tenants so they don't get stuffy. So right now, I'm going to return it because it's easier to see it on this page. We're doing 119 CFM at 38%. That's great. Now, to change the set point is very easy, and that's just a matter of highlighting that right there and changing it. There's 76. Wait for it. Now we're going to wait to see what this active cooling set point does. Obviously, it's going to take our heating set point up to 73. That may or may not turn on our heat, depending on how far away from set point it really is. We'll see if our heat comes on. If it does, we'll see what it looks like. So the heat came on. What we're going to do now is wait to see if this discharge air temp goes up. First thing that'll happen is our airflow is going to change because that's not enough airflow for electric heat. Go to more details. Minimum heating flow set point is at 120 degrees, or 120 CFM. So we'll see if that's a good number here as the heat comes on. See how hot the air gets. In this case, the fact that the minimum cooling and the minimum heating are the same tells me I could probably get away with less minimum cooling to keep them from overcooling. but since they're above heating set point anyway, I don't think I'll be making any changes because it seems to be working for them. Okay, our discharge air temp right now is at 80 degrees, coming up from 72 degrees, which is a good indicator that our heat is working. Now it's just a matter of waiting to see how hot that air gets. 86. I'm sure you noticed in here on the graphic for the VAV, the heating strips change colors so they show that they're energized. (91-degree) air. While we're waiting for that to change, I want everybody to remember that this 90 degrees is representative of the heat that's coming out of that VAV box, but it's dependent on what temperature air is coming out of this rooftop unit. So what I'm going to do is go over to the rooftop unit and say, okay, the rooftop unit is putting out 72 degrees, and the VAV is putting out 95 degrees. So that's roughly 23 degrees. Now imagine if that rooftop unit was putting out 55 degrees. 22 degrees would be 77 degrees. So when we determine whether or not the heat's working, a lot of it depends on what that rooftop unit's doing, on what temperature to expect here. If it's 20 degrees lower coming out of the rooftop unit, it's going to be 20 degrees lower coming out of the VAV. Just something to keep in mind. You know, yesterday I had 97 degrees coming out of this VAV. Now I've only got 77 degrees coming out of the VAV. Well, what's my rooftop unit doing? Rooftop unit's doing, right now, 72. If it's doing 55, that would explain that. If this goes above 110 degrees, I'm going to increase the minimum heating airflow to keep it from getting too hot coming out of the VAV, because there are high limit switches in there that we don't want to trip to manual reset, and nobody wants to have to go in the ceiling for something like that, mostly because it interrupts the tenant. So we're putting out 100-degree air. That's nice, keeping in mind that we're starting with 72-degree air, so I'll be a little bit liberal on this and allow it maybe as high as 120 degrees because we're starting out with such warm air. If it was putting out cold air, then I want them to be able to feel the changes of the heat being on. The other problem with too hot of air is people feel that on their head when they walk by or when they're sitting at their desk, and that can be a little bit uncomfortable. So if this navigation tree, that's what this area here is that I'm circling with the cursor, that's navigation tree. If you look at the navigation tree, these are all the VAVs on the second floor east that are fed by RTU number 7. So obviously if you had a problem with RTU 7, if you got a work order for TU 7-1, TU 7-14, TU 7-7, and TU 7-3 all within an hour, rather than worrying about the VAVs, that's a good time to go up and say, what's my rooftop unit doing? And you look at it and say, okay, my supply air temp is here, my set point is here, I've got duct static pressure, my fan's running at 55%, space temperature representative is 72.5. I do or don't have compressors running, I do or don't have the fan running. These are all things you can look at. If you go to the next page on more details, auto reset diagnostic, no. Manual reset diagnostic, no. Informational warning, no. So given all that, you say, well, my rooftop unit should be doing okay. If the manual reset or auto reset said yes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on my mouse. You don't have access. I'm going to have to give you access for that. I'm going to log on with my logon and get in there, and then I'll change the Tracer Summit so that you can do that as well. Give me a moment. You were second floor east, Jose?
Yes.
R27, 711, 106 degrees. I'm still pretty happy with that. Okay, so back to the rooftop unit. I'm going to right click on the screen, edit in Telepac Rooftop. Come in here. If you have a active manual or auto reset diagnostics, it's going to be in this white area, so that if you either you can look at it and say, well, whatever it says, if you were to call a vendor, Sun Mechanical, and say, hey, I've got a compressor trip on circuit 1 on RTU7, that's a lot of information that might be helpful. And if nothing else, it gives you an idea of what's going on here. So you can't see it, but there's at the bottom of the screen, there's a close button. Let me see here how much trouble it's going to be. I'm going to click that close button down there. I didn't make any meaningful changes or intentional changes, so I'm going to say do not save. Okay, that covers the rooftop unit for now. Let's go back to 711 and see what she's doing. Okay, we've picked up, what, half a degree with the heat being on. So somebody out there is probably noticing, well, all of a sudden I'm starting to get a little warmer. Less than a degree, so they probably just feel the warm air blowing. It hasn't changed temperature in the room that much. So say, okay, maybe I got the wrong VAV. Let's say that I did, or they really don't want to be 76 degrees. Let's put it back to 75. Or, let's put it back to 75. Go back to 75. Left click on the screen. We'll wait for that change to come into the graphic. It's not going to come right away because we're reading, right here we're reading what's actually in the controller. Here we're reading what we're sending the controller. So theoretically, cooling set point is going to go to 75. Heating set point is going to go to 72. Heat's going to go off. Discharge air temp is going to, this temperature will equal, roughly equal, this temperature on the rooftop unit. Heat's off. Let's give it 30 seconds to see this discharge air temp drop. Your graphic is not showing heat on anymore. Now if you look down here, well, we won't look down there. No need to look down there. Okay, our cooling set point's back to 75, our heating set point's back to 72. Now, I said I'd talk to you about this heating set point. I'm going to talk to you about several things. What I'm going to do is right click on this graphic, edit Veritrain UCM with a left click. Notice on this page, once again, you've got active diagnostics. We have none. Maximum cooling is 400 CFM, minimum 120, minimum heating 120. Now, this is the cooling thing. So this is the point on the graphic that I was changing. You can change it here or there. It's the same point. So 75. Heating not used. What that means is, instead of you having a cooling set point to deal with and a heating set point to deal with, all you have is a cooling set point, and you apply a differential of 3 degrees to the 75, and that is your heating set point. Throughout the summertime, you'll have people playing with the cooling set point and not the heating set point. Wintertime comes along, and all of a sudden your heating set point's at 68, 69 degrees because it hasn't been played with all summer, and your cooling set point is wherever it ended up after the summer. When we put this as not used and apply differential, you don't lose track of what your heating set point is. It's always 3 degrees, 2 degrees, whatever you have in here below your cooling set point, and it cuts the hassles down a lot. Configuration. The important thing about this screen is right here. You're never going to be able to turn your cooling set point below 70 or your cooling set point above 78. You're not going to be able to set your heating set point below 65 or above 74. Those seem reasonable to me. It probably seemed reasonable, Jose, we've discussed it. But if anybody wanted to change those, if you hold your cursor in there, it'll tell you where you can change them. You usually have to, you should change your heating set points first. But these limits are pretty liberal, so I can't imagine anybody wanting to be colder than 70 or warmer than 78. That's what that is. Here, you don't really want to play with. Overrides, if it came down to it and you couldn't figure out what was going on and somebody was hot, here's where you can drive the damper open. If they're cold, you can drive the damper closed. It's a fail-safe. Probably a phone call to myself or Jose before that's done would be a good idea, but you get the general idea. The trick is, once you override that, it's going to be overridden forever until somebody releases it. Once again, there's a close button down at the bottom. I made no intentional changes, so I'm going to say do not save. Jose, do you have any questions over what we covered here?
Oh, I got everything so far.
I agree with you, you do. Of course, rooftop unit and VAVs. See here it says occupied cooling, occupied. Same thing with the VAV. Occupied. Naturally, if you're having troubles with an area and it says unoccupied, that's a problem. For whatever reason, if it's unoccupied, that'd be step one to figure out a way to get it occupied. So let's go to the schedule and see when it's scheduled to be on. We're on RTU 7. Let's go down to that. So you can try and read this graph. I do not do that. Green is your start, red is your stop. This is the day. Instead of trying to read this, I just double click it. I think a single click will even do it the way it beeped at me. Yeah, single click. So at 4:45 in the morning, this thing's going to start. 7 p.m. it's going to stop. So I'm going to change this to 4:46 for demonstration purposes. So 4:46, okay. I'm going to save it. This is going to be active for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now, if you wanted it not to be on Friday, you wanted a separate schedule, you can just unclick that and then save it and put a Friday schedule in. In this case, he's got Monday through Friday all the same, no problems. So that's not a change I want. So I'm going to close this, come back in again, go back to number 7. Let's see. Now you click up here, you can see what it's going to do on Friday. Same thing. What's it going to do on Saturday? We've got it not running on Saturday. Sunday, not running on Sunday. Monday morning, same thing, 4:45. So if you wanted to put a Saturday schedule in, just put one in for this Saturday. So we've got to start. We've got to stop. Let's put a start in. Enable start. 8 a.m. sounds good. Nobody wants to get up too early. And we'll change this to stop at noon. Okay. Now, if you save this, you can save it for Saturday and Sunday, or just Saturday, whatever you want to do. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up as an exception. So if there's one Saturday, this coming Saturday, which is December 15th, is the only Saturday that I want this to take effect for. New exception day. Starting on the 15th, lasts 1 day. Save. Now you can see the yellow, you know that something's happening on Sunday, or Saturday rather. And I don't know what it is, but there it is. This unit's gonna run. The whole system for that unit is, meaning the RTU and all the VVs are gonna be occupied from, what is it? 8 to 12. And that's what we have in there right now. So, wonder, I can't remember. So we take the start away. Now it's back to the way it was. Now Saturday's not going to do anything. It's going to be stopped. But that's how you can put an exception day in. There's a button down here for holiday, or actually, let's see here. See if I can remember how to do this. Save that as holiday. You can make a new holiday. Are you open on Christmas, Jose?
Not sure.
Not sure? Well, when you find out, you can save this holiday, Christmas, or holiday, or whatever you want to put it in here, and save it as, then it'll recur every single year. And at this point, let me do something else. This is a good time to go into the, now if you have questions about this schedule, you go to the help, and you can go into holiday, click to display the defined holiday dialog box. This button is active only after the holiday events have been defined. So, define holiday, let's see there. New holiday. Click to create new holiday. Basically what I just want to show you is that there's this help button in here. Let me close this. This help button is helpful. Mostly if you have a question. So when you're in here, you say, I have a question about this holiday button. I'm gonna go to help, find out what that holiday button is. So I'm gonna go into command buttons, holiday. Click to display the defined holiday. And you say, what's a defined holiday? There it is. So you got new holiday, existing holiday, blah, blah, blah. This will walk you through to figure out an answer to a question you might have that I didn't cover, or it wasn't very clear. And I'm fairly good at this system, and I have no problem using that help button because it's useful. More so when you're in a VAV box. Let me go in here. Edit, right click, left click. When I go into, let's say here. No, let's go in configuration. All these limits. Got questions about those limits, okay? You can't see it, but I'm going down to the help button. So, okay. We were on the configuration page. I think we were. No, we might have been on the. I'm gonna go back. Let's say we're on the setup page. Well, no, it was on the configuration page, but here, maximum flow set point. It explains it to you. What that means. Very useful. It's there for you if you need it. The help button is your friend. Okay, we're gonna pause this and actually we'll stop it and we'll start up another one once Jose and I figure out where we're gonna go from here. All right, thanks.